Yeah, there we go. That's a good start. Welcome back. It's a Tuesday Thoughts here on the SDH Network. John here, you there. Nothing like mute buttons, yeah? All right, so here's the rundown of the day. Most of the day, we're going to get caught up on Major League Soccer news of the morning. We got Champions League to get into. We got Copa Libertadores to get into. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo involving a big name that is going to be leaving his current club at the end of the season in the Premier League. And guess who holds his discovery rights? I know you're shocked. Bottom of the hour, Skate Noftsinger, the Senior Vice President and Chief Business Officer for Atlanta United, is going to drop by, and we're going to talk about the Rooted in the Stripes series. And we're going to kind of do a bit of a deep dive into that and kind of get all the whys and the wherefores and what it's like to piece something like that together, because it's a lot of work from a lot of folks. And with it now coming out for season 3, which, when you think about it, that's crazy that we're already in season 3 of Rooted in the Stripes, but it seems like it has gone to that next level. So we're going to catch up with Skate at the bottom of the hour and find out all about Rooted and the investment, the time, the folks, the people, all the things when it comes to piecing something like that together and filing it and making sure that it wins as many awards as humanly possible. So, like I said, we'll catch up with Skate bottom of the hour. It'll be a fun conversation to kind of get a look behind the curtain and see how things are made when it comes to Rooted and all the stuff that you see, either short term or short form or long form, involving Atlanta United. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff to get into from a news perspective and reports perspective and things like that. And so whatever's on your mind this morning, that's what we're here for. So lay it all on us. If there was something that we forgot yesterday involving involving our breakdown of Atlanta United, we got to get into Atlanta United 2, because it is a quick turn for Atlanta United 2, and it's going to be I mean, you think about yesterday, and I guess this is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I'll see if I can find the QR code here in just a second. But you have here it is. There's your QR code right there. You hit your QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. You start your day there. You hit that QR code. And don't forget, use the code Soccer Down Here 15 when you check out. Then you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that we think of as cool, especially from the guy who gets speared from the bejesus last night by Braun Breaker in wrestling. So there you go. There's your QR code, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Soccer Down Here 15 gets you 15% off. They take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Now, what to think about when it comes to, did that just unplug? No? I don't know what's going on there. Okay. Well, I thought, see, now, like I said, this is literally, it's like, this was working and then it wasn't. So let me see. Oh, there. Okay. So it wasn't me. It was, I just didn't hit the button far enough. Oh, of course. Operator error. So yesterday, if you caught the broadcast with Jason and Maddie, late here in the morning show, in hour number 2, there was a reason that we had to dump out a little early. And it was because of Atlanta United 2 and Inter Miami CF2. So it was Messi and Friends 2 and Atlanta United 2, wrapping up the match from Sunday that got 23 minutes and almost 24. I think it was like 23:59. It was on the clock at the fraction. It was 24:09. They dialed it back about 10 seconds. And so 24 minutes in, then they played the rest of the match. Moises Tablante had your star of the match day performance. But go back and listen. If you haven't had the chance to go back and listen to the call that Jason and Maddie had yesterday with Atlanta United 2 and Messi and Friends 2 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you get to hear the whistles, you get to hear the construction. I think you might have heard some players, and it was just a unique experience all the way around. And once again, big thanks to Atlanta United. Thanks to our friends at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for letting the two of them crash, then be able to tell the rest of the story. But for the twos, by the way, it's a quick turn. It is the quickest of quick turns. The quickest of quick turns. Morning, Abby. Because today is basically rest and regen. Then tomorrow, you probably are getting in some light film sessions, or maybe depending on when the flight is. Because Thursday night here on the network, it is Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2 in Chester. And so they're taking on the Union at Subaru Park on Thursday night. So instead of playing a match on Sunday and then getting everything all squared away and ready to go, you leave Wednesday for a match on Thursday. Mother Nature decides not so fast, my friend. She got out her Ticonderoga number 2 pencil and just kind of waved it at you. So then you have that happen. Match doesn't finish until lunchtime Monday. So today is rest and regen. Then tomorrow is film study and travel, I guess. Maybe you film study in the hotel or you do walkthroughs in the hotel. And you've got a matchup with Philadelphia Union 2 on Thursday here on the network. And then after that, it is yet again another kerflooey nutso time away from MLS Next Pro. Because literally, the matchup with Philadelphia is on the 10th. And then you wait 13 days before you get your next match, and it's a matchup against Carolina Core up at the Fraction on the 23rd. But on premise here, so you have a bye week already. Then you have 2 matches in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll go ahead and go with the conclusion. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 2 matches in 4 days, and then you get 13 days off. Welcome to the scheduling of MLS Next Pro. And then after that, you have 2 matches in 5 days with Atlanta and Carolina Core, and then you turn around and you go to Northern Kentucky University on the 27th, and you play FC Cincinnati 2 at FC Cincinnati 2, which is technically at Northern Kentucky University. So, it's, I will sit here and put my hand in the air, and I'm going to go, Steve, Steve Cook, manager of Atlanta United 2, y'all are better at this than anybody. Matches, bye week, matches, 2 and 4 days, 13 days off, 2 and 5. It's going to be one of them seasons, I think, in MLS Next Pro. It's just it's like the mechanical bull that you would see in the 1980s movies. That was the trendy thing. Then you end up with just okay, let's just ride the mechanical bull and see what happens. And so I think that's where we are right now with MLS Next Pro and Atlanta United 2 getting their first win of the season yesterday. Moises Tablante the brace, 3-2 the final over Messi and Friends 2 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in a closed-door session. And I think that it was, obviously because of scheduling and construction and all the things going on in the building, it was just okay, we just kind of need the field and the locker rooms. Y'all can have the rest of it and do your things and all that kind of stuff. So that was the Palace intrigue from yesterday. But a big win for Atlanta United 2 in the Eastern Conference and MLS Next Pro. And they get to have today, kind of catch your breath, hop on a plane tomorrow, and go play in Philly on Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. Once again, the matchup will be on the network. And it will be on the network 7:15, I want to say. I think we're 7:15 pregame for a 7:33 kick. So, of course, I just shut down that schedule and trying to see where I am here. Hang on just a second. So, Atlanta United 2 schedule. Traditionally road games, it is, so 7 o'clock start. So 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kick here on the network and on MLS Season Pass. That's opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Right there, that's your QR code, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so that is the early rundown of everything there. Let me run through the promos for you. Once again, we got Skate Noftsinger coming on at the bottom of the hour to break down everything. Atlanta United when it comes to Rooted in the Stripes and all of the really cool projects that we get to see from a visual standpoint with Atlanta United. So, all right, here's your rundown. Once again, you can help out the Marshall Island Soccer Project. And like I said, I've got 10 scarves on the other side of this wall. And the Kickstarter project, if that is something that you are inclined to help out and move forward as they're trying to get everything squared away for the Outrigger Challenge Cup here in Springdale, Arkansas at John Brown University the week of the 14th and the 16th of August. Yeah, we're probably going to be there for that. So once again, you can pick up scarves, you can pick up gear, you can go to the Kickstarter project, help out the Marshall Island Soccer Federation, as they try to have the Outrigger Challenge Cup in Arkansas in the middle of August. They're about 25% of their goal, and we need to see if we can help out in any way, or you can help out folks that can help out any way humanly possible. So that would be a really cool thing if they could pull that off in August. Also, Olive, New York, you can get your the first ever SDH jersey, Kaiser Permanente. We couldn't do things without them. Across the front of the jersey, Beyond Goals Mentoring, Soccer for Good. You go to Olive, New York, get your Navy jersey with the floppy collar. And when you get your Navy jersey with the floppy collar, you can figure out if you want it personalized, and it can be personalized with a Navy jersey. You can either go with white letters and numerals, or you can go with the lighter blue letters and numerals. Choice is yours. Go to Olive, New York, personalize it, and you can follow in the footsteps of our jersey models, Greg Garza, Sofia Cupertino, and Maddie Cruz. And you can pick up one of those or pick up a couple of those with our friends at Olive, New York. You can also get your shopping done with the SDH gear. Obviously, this is old school, and this has been put together and kept really well. In the laundry, I've just gone to the delicate stage so I can hang on to this. This is the old stuff. You can get the new logo, and you can get some of the retrified logos and stuff that Jason has pieced together. You can go to soccerdownhere.net, go into the shop section, and you can get all of your SDH gear there when it comes to how you want to represent you. And it's mugs. It's it's not koozies. The Tervis tumblers, not Tervis. It's not the Tervis tumbler. I don't think there's a Tervis tumbler. What's the freaking thing? The Yeti cooler, the Yeti tumbler. You can get some of those. You can get all of your little knickknacks and things with SDH and a couple of the old franchises that Jason has retrified and has put in there. So go to the shop section at soccerdownhere.net. You can get the new SDH logo. You can get all the things that you can get there to rep SDH as well. Then also you can go to Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. And we talk about our Soccer for Good campaign with Olive in New York. And you can get the very, very comfortable Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta gear, red or black with gold embossed. Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta. And with that, you help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta Public School System. So you can do that at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. I think that's everybody. Oh, Fanaticos. You can join the Fanaticos program with SDH, and you go, well, how do you do that? Well, you can go to group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. And when you get $10 a year, group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. I think I spelled it right, because when I go into one particular section, I get blocked out. So group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. And right there, group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. You can become a Fanatico, and you get to hang out in our Chant app. Actually, let me grab the Chant app so I can show you what it looks like. So do it. There we go. Do it against the grain of the light. So you can join and be a part of our Chant app on the SDH section there. And once again, membership goes to the Soccer for Good campaign and the causes that we have earmarked in 25. You can have conversations with all of us here on the Chant app, and you get a bunch of discounts from a bunch of different places. And I'm serious. It is everywhere. And we also have new folks that are joining in, new businesses that are wanting to be a part of the Fanaticos program. You get discounts by being a Fanatico, and you have the activity here on the app. So here's your partners currently. Brass Tap, Moxie Hotel, South Main and Watkinsville, Schoolhouse in Marietta, Atlanta Hard Cider Marietta, Elixir, Buford and Monroe, Round Trip in Marietta, Social Fox in Norcross, Keys to Flavor Catering from Sugar Hill. So if you are a Fanatico and you need to have an event catered, Keys to Flavor is right here with a discount code. Fido Midtown, O'Sullivan's, Beers, Bill, Merch. Remember, Decatur FC. That's where they are locked in place. Lloyd Soccer. You get a discount with Atlanta United gear, certain Atlanta United gear for the Johns Creek location. Finished Goods in Winder, Slow Pour in Lawrenceville, Outrun in Stone Mountain. Tires Plus in Alpharetta has a discount. Dad's Garage, Chateau Arenal. That's my personal favorite. The Chateau Arenal, you get a percentage off a booking using a code. If you wanted to go hang out in El Castillo, San Ramon, Costa Rica, at the Chateau Arenal, that's on here. They're Fanatico. Battle and Brew in San Diego, and the Battery and Wild Leap at Ted Turner Drive in Atlanta. So a bunch of different folks that you get to help out, and they get to, help you out with your wallet. You get to help us out with Soccer for Good. And you get to do that by being a Fanatico. Group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. So you can be a Fanatico there, and you can go and hang out. Like I said, $10 a year. Literally $10 a year. That is it. What do you do for $10 a year? Well, you can help out the Soccer for Good campaign that we have here at SDH by becoming a Fanatico. And right there, group.chant.fan/soccer down here /join. All right, now let's see who's in here this morning. Abby's in this morning. Yes, beating the inner Fort Lauderdale boys. Yes, absolutely true. Morning, OG. Abby, the Chester, PA weather is a high of 51. Going to be chilly at game time. Yes. Morning, David. Yes, you did, Abby. Skate's going to be on in about 10 minutes. And so, like I said, we're going to talk about Rooted. We're going to go really deep dive into that, and then how Atlanta United's reaching out into the community, what they want to accomplish, how things are different for Skate this time than it was in her previous tenure. How is it ramped up more? Is it astronomically more? When it comes to the vision that Atlanta United has for community outreach and things like that, and then showing the behind the scenes stuff like Rooted. So we're going to go heavy into Rooted, but we're going to talk about community relations a bit too. So yeah, Skate's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Abby wore her navy and her light blue to FIFA training. Okay, there you go. And FIFA was sitting there going, ooh, I could see today I feel SDH. Let's have that moment from Gianni Infantino. Just today I feel. So see, now that's pretty sweet that you wore your navy with light blue to the FIFA training. Nice. That's very cool. Morning, Lokeville, and morning, Michael. So everybody's raising their hands. So like I said, Skate Noftsinger is going to join us in about 10 minutes, and we'll talk about everything with Rooted in the Stripes series and Atlanta United and outreach in the community. So very, very cool. Looking forward to that. Just to I get to pull back the curtain because I get to see we all get to see the end result, but now I want to see how everything is kind of made and pieced together and all the effort that goes into it. Because as you can tell, it's not something that is just, slapped together, edited, bing, bang, boom, and you're done. It's not that way. So we're going to discuss the bing and the bang and the boom with Skate Noftsinger coming up in about 10 minutes. Okay. One of the things that I wanted to get into this morning is, and I know that this will shock each and every one of you, that when you have, how do we phrase? When you have players around the planet that are not going to be, with their clubs anymore. Kevin De Bruyne, he's got his contract. He said what he said in his prepared statement on the 280 character app. And so you're wondering what the next step is. Initially, for me, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if you're going to MLS, obviously San Diego went to the table. They looked at their hand and they're like, yep, too rich for our blood. And they pushed the cards in and they went fold. Initially, you're thinking somebody like CFG, City Football Group, and you're thinking NYCFC, and you can see Kevin De Bruyne on the U12 pitch at Yankee Stadium trying to create in that building. But apparently, and I know that, and I wish, I wish that I had a rim shot. I really do. I really wish I had a rim shot, because then this would be perfect. It would be absolutely perfect when it came to what team has the discovery rights for Kevin De Bruyne. And I know that this would be an absolute shock to each and every one of you when we found out that, by the way, Kevin De Bruyne's discovery rights are held by Messi and Friends. Paul Tenorio has that. A lot of folks have it out this morning, but Paul Tenorio over at The Athletic. So Tenorio, once again, Messi and Friends hold his rights. And when did we start calling Messi and friends Inter? I think Nick Alifi's going to have issues with that. The only Inter that I know of is Milan. But apparently now, because your first 7 letters are the same, when did we start calling Messi and friends Inter? No, that's stop trying to make fetch happen, Gretchen. Okay, so the South Florida side holds his discovery rights, according to multiple sources briefed on the potential move. Announced Friday he would leave Man City at the end of the season. Guardiola with a quote. De Bruyne had a flirtation with San Diego FC. The club is not in the picture. Instead, and this is Tenorio's words, instead it's the Messi star-laden side that has come to the fore by virtue of the league's discovery process. Discovery rights are a mechanism whereby teams can place up to 5 players. It's the dibs list. I mean, let's not be overly official about it. It's the dibs list. Cristiano Ronaldo, dibs. So, it's a dibs list. Cristiano Ronaldo, dibs. Mbappe, dibs. Jude Bellingham, dibs. Joe Bellingham, dibs. Well, and I mean, and to Michael's question, he says he wants to know who's on Atlanta's discovery list. And that's, once again, that's something that, team by team, they want to sit there and they're like, well, we don't want people to know, because then that turns into a bargaining chip for the player in the public sphere. So Messi and friends is just like, they're gonna throw money around all over the place, and so it would be dibs. So Kevin De Bruyne is dibs with Messi and friends. Messi and friends have dibs on Kevin De Bruyne, and probably Ronaldo, and probably Pele. 1968 Pele. They got him cryogenically frozen or something like that. So yeah, it's a dibs list, and so. It is the discovery created to prevent MLS teams from bidding against each other to drive up the price on potential signings. Once again, that's Tenorio. So these days, you can have transactions with each other inside the league now, but still, you don't want teams to bid against each other when it comes to the open market and players that may not want to be with their current teams when their contracts expire. Because players sign contracts with MLS, and then technically assigned to a team, the process tries to head off the league negotiating against itself for a player. But once again, so the league can negotiate with itself for players and player transfers, but when it comes to the dibs list, you currently can't. Teams can trade within the league for discovery rights, but may not negotiate with a player that's on another team's list. Well, that makes sense. That's how Messi and friends has the league's first right of refusal on De Bruyne, even if signing him would require some roster rule gymnastics. And once again, we talk about the DPs that are there, Sergi Busquets, Jordi Alba. De Bruyne would have a hard cap on how much he could be paid in 25, like that has stopped Messi and friends before. Most likely scenario, according to Tenorio, comes via the path once taken by the LAG in signing Zlatan. At the time, Galaxy had 3 DPs. Zlatan signs a 2-year deal, paying him $3 million, which just brought him in using TAM, Garber bucks. After the first season, the deal was torn up, signed a new deal, saying the Galaxy had skirted the rules with a handshake agreement, giving Zlatan a new deal after his first season. Any automatic trigger or option would have counted toward the cap number, caused him to be a DP in 2018. Later, upon leaving MLS, Ibrahimovic also was named part owner of Hammarby, which is owned by AEG, the club that owns the group that owns the Galaxy. Miami has ample cap space, according to Tenorio, to do a similar TAM deal if De Bruyne is willing to sidestep DP status in his first half season in MLS. The league's last club roster profile released in March, they had more than $3.15 million in GAM, which is essentially extra salary cap space. They've signed Baltazar Rodriguez and Alan Obando since the release of that cap, though both came in on loan deals. If he signs as a TAM player, he could not make more than $871, $875, which is half of the maximum TAM charge. Budget charges are annualized in Major League Soccer. Only would participate in the Club World Cup for Manchester City, though he would have to sign an extension to do so. Contract expires on June 30, about halfway through the tourney, and eligible to play for Messi and friends until July 24, when the secondary transfer window opens. We know about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia wants to throw a boatload of money at him and be happy birthday 34. Kevin De Bruyne, here's a boatload of money. So Messi, Alba, Busquets, and Suarez out of contract at the end of the season to open up a DP spot for De Bruyne, One of the three would have to agree to a non-DP deal or not re-sign in order to accommodate De Bruyne taking the DP spot. Alba occupied a TAM spot for his first season and a half. Busquets turns 37. And so that is how it could happen. That is how it could happen. So basically, it would come down to Garber bucks and taking a Zlatan-ish kind of a deal for Kevin De Bruyne to be a part of Messi and friends who have dibs. Well, I mean, Abby's calling BS, but you can't spell dibs without BS. I'm just saying. That should be on a T-shirt. We probably should put that on a T-shirt. So, yes. So currently, and like I said, I would have thought that dibs would have gone to NYC, or at least common sense within the chain would have gone to NYC. But apparently, according to Tenorio et al., as we say in Latin class, et alii, more than one other and others. So it is Messi and friends that have dibs on Kevin De Bruyne. And it is simply one of those, situations where, hey, we've got dibs. We got to figure out how to make it work. So we'll figure out how to make it work. And I'm guessing, like I said, this is me who's kind of sitting there going, gymnastics and all that kind of stuff. Financials. All right. It is that time. I'm looking in the green room and I see the background. See, now that's a great studio background if ever there was one. It's time to catch up with Sarah Kate Noftsinger, Senior VP, Chief Business Officer of Atlanta United. We're going to talk stuff. That's the official term. Stuff. Skate, good morning. Welcome to the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk stuff with you.
Yes, and the biggest stuff that I wanted to discuss is rooted in the stripes, and it's for someone like me who likes to do longer form storytelling, and I like to have something where there's no track and there's no one talking about transitions or anything, and it's voice. 9.5 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by. Give me the deep dives and everything. What's it like to see Rooted take the form that it is, where it's now almost 30-minute episodes and it's really doing some deep dive material? What's it been like for you to see that?
Yeah. First of all, I totally agree with you. I love, seeing deeper form content, but then you have to find the fine line between, if it's too long, it can lose people. If it's too short, sometimes you can't dive in deep enough. For me, I think you look at, forget just soccer clubs around the country. You look at pro sports around the country. I don't know how many, digital and production teams have the talent, to put together engaging episodes like this. And so I think it's kudos to the staff that we've got here that has the talent to do something like this. We look at, I think somebody told me once that for every hour of footage, you're actually lucky to get about 30 seconds of real content out of it.
Wow.
And so if you're looking at how long these episodes are, now if you get even more efficient, I've heard it's an hour of footage to 1 minute of true content. And so if you look at all of the, the length of those episodes and you start thinking about the footage that they've gone through, there's a lot of, you can't just sit there and take, 30 hours of footage and scrape through all of it. You got to have a storyboard and you got to have a plan. And so I do think for me to see this come to life, to see the stories, to see that we've got, people that are pretty vulnerable in front of the camera and the access that we have, I couldn't be more pleased with it.
I can just see the invoices coming across folks' desks. Okay, terabyte drive. What's this for? 4 terabyte drives. What is all of this about? Because of everything that you've got to store. How many people are we talking about here that is a part of the creative process, top, bottom, and sideways to make something like this sing?
Top, bottom, and sideways. Oh man, you can't even, fingers and toes don't include it all. When you look at the ones that are really cutting the footage, shooting the footage, and storyboarding it, you're looking at, there's probably a team of 5 or 6, and it could rotate. But I do think when I say you can't even count on your fingers and toes the number of people, the conversations that are had with, whether it's, listening to supporters, you're even reading some of the surveys, after you come to one of our matches and you read through the survey and you see some of the comments that come through, sometimes those do actually inspire us to, hey, let's uncover this and show really what's happening behind the scenes here. We're even you want to make sure that even a casual fan, we sit in this every day, but you want to make sure that a casual sports fan that may not know every single thing about soccer can understand and get engaged with one of these episodes and all of the episodes and want to follow it, as well as your avid fans. So there's even off times where we're sharing potential stories with parents, with grandparents or with brothers and sisters and family, because sometimes those people are the best ones too, to be like, hey, what do you think? Does that sound interesting to you? But there are a number of people. We've got some, like I said, brilliant people behind the camera. You got a whole nother team that is helping storyboard it out. One of the things you're seeing differently this year, or you will start seeing differently this year, is last year we only did, I think it was 4 or 5 episodes of Rooted in the Stripes, and they were fantastic. The way they were produced was, they were incredible. And they were beautiful. They were cinematic. And it was more done in chunks of time, where this year we've storyboarded out, some more specific stories that we want to follow throughout the year. And obviously you're going to have some squirrels that run through and you get distracted and you want to find those and tell those stories that you can't plan for and can't control. But then there are some stories that we do want, you'll see a red thread throughout the year. And we're trying to do actually 12 episodes this year versus 4 or 5 that we did last year.
I mean, and that's a tall order, because if you're doubling your episodic output, then once again, to your original point, you've got to figure out set length. But the beautiful thing about online and doing things through other channels is that it doesn't have to be 28 minutes and 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be 22:30. It can be 27:22. It can be 19:38, as long as it's a good story that's being told.
Right.
Then the length is somewhat irrelevant in all of this. And I think that's part of that, the good part of the creative process these days, from before, when I started back in the days of black and white television and the DeMont network, where it literally is, okay, you've got to be out by 28:30 and you've got to tell a story in this kind of, the fact that you can let things breathe, I think, is key, where folks can see those, threads, but at the same time they get attached to the quote unquote characters who are the real people here.
Right. No, characters who are the real people and getting them attached. There's a lot of pro athletes. There's a lot of coaches, people within front offices across sports that you don't like to have a camera in your face and following you around and showing those vulnerable moments. One of the things, again, that makes this place so special, one of the reasons I came back about a little over a year ago, is how transparent it is and how much it wants to do right by the fans and really have that buy-in. And so we've got players that know there's going to be cameras that are going to follow them around. They're going to be in the locker room. You look at the season, it may have been a frustrating start so far, but you got a new coach, you got a bunch of new players. You're building for the next, I like to say 20 years, but you're really building for the long term here. And having cameras in there to capture some of those vulnerable moments, to capture the frustration, but then also to capture the phenomenal moments that occur. I think that cast of characters and really peeling back the layers of the onion and showing some of the personality, whether it's front office folks, whether it's fans, and some of the most avid fans, or whether it's the players, I think will hopefully deepen a connection. And again, nobody's trying to hide anything here. We want to go out and win just like everybody else. And we want to win on the field and we want to win in the city.
How different is it for you here this second time around? How different is Atlanta United? How different is Major League Soccer? How different is soccer in the Southeast? How different is it for you in version 2.0 versus version 1.0?
Version 2.0. I think version 2.0, the story's still being written. And what's different now is when we started, I was the 5th person at Atlanta United. You were wearing 10, 12 different hats. And now instead of wearing 10 to 12 different hats, you might be wearing 4 or 5 different hats. So we're growing. It's not perfect. And anytime there's growth, there's going to be stumbling. That's part of life. If we're not messing up, it means we're not trying hard enough. And so where we are now is, again, we're trying to figure out stability long-term and greatness long-term, where before we were really focused on just the short term, for right or for wrong. That's what we were really focused on, just like that moment in time. And now we're trying to figure out how can we be, dominant long-term, and it's dominant on and off the field. And how can you create a legacy for generations to come is really what we're focused on now. But I'm enjoying it. There's so many new people, so many fresh minds, but then you also have the expertise of some people that have been in this business for so long that we can lean into. It's nice to come back and see familiar faces like yours when I'm, kind of wandering around the pitch. It's nice to see that. And it's, one thing that hasn't changed is the passion. I actually think, if anything, the passion's gotten, it's deeper. And as much as I hate seeing the frustration, you love to see the frustration. Because the frustration means that people care. It's, you're seeing the conversations of standing versus sitting, and that's a great problem. People are excited. You're starting to see that hunger and the desire to win, exude out of everyone's pores, no matter if you're in the first row, the last row, in the building, out of the building, or on the field. Everybody wants it. So I think, the hunger is there. We're excited about that. I think you got a lot of new faces, like I mentioned before. MLS is continuing to evolve. You got more clubs than when I was here before. There's a lot more soccer going on in North America. So that's changed. There's more matches. So how do you keep it fresh? And then you look at Atlanta itself. Back in the day, no one thought Atlanta and soccer would work. Now soccer in Atlanta is the epicenter of soccer in North America.
When you look at, and you mentioned legacy, and full disclosure, I had the word legacy building in my brain when we were talking about Rooted in the Stripes, because of all of the characters that are here and all the stories that are being told, and making sure that all of that is preserved going forward. Where you look at the legacy of Atlanta United, and all of this, it almost is awe-inspiring at points. It's almost intimidating at points when you see the product that's being put out there. You're sitting there going, man, this is some heavy stuff that a lot of folks are dealing with. They're dealing with the on the field, they're dealing with the off the field, they're dealing with the growth of what's going on with Atlanta United. When you look at a final product, when you look at an episode, I guess first off, sub question, a little a parenthesis. Do you want to see the process as it's going, or do you want to wait until you see the end episode and then rough cut it and then look at things? How are you when it comes to the vision of Rooted and you being a part of the viewing process?
That's a great question. So being a part of that kind of editorial and viewing process, I feel like if I was really sitting in there for every step along the way, it might be a producer and editor's worst nightmare. So, I think it's great to align on a kind of high level storyboard and understand what the tone is and understand what some of the visuals are, and understanding the feeling that you want to, evoke in a consumer and someone that's watching it. So I usually align with them in the beginning and just have a high level, kind of alignment, like I said, on some storylines. And then I like to actually wait and see what they put together.
Okay.
And I think that's the trust that I have in this team and the talented group of people that you have, and that trust has been earned over time. They are a truly talented team. And then we sit down and, there's a core group of folks that come and edit, and it's within all levels of the organization. So myself, Garth, we take a look at it and we give feedback. And one of the things that makes it, I think it's probably shocking to a lot of people to know this, is we actually want it to be as vulnerable as possible, and we want it to be as raw and as real. Mm-hmm. And I think Ronnie's been fantastic. We've had cameras in the locker room at every moment that you possibly can, in training at every, moment that you can. I think Derek Williams, following him home, spending some time with him as a seasoned veteran. So again, I like to see it towards the very end. So the storyboard at the very beginning, and then I'll see it, kind of once they've put together that, anywhere from 25 to 29 minute episode, take a look at that. And then we all give feedback and say, hey, maybe we need subtitles here because you can't understand X, Y, and Z, or maybe that's light in that shot, or, is there something that fits? But it's usually very minor edits that have to be made. That's how talented they are. And I think that's also, though, a tribute to and kudos to the alignment that we have and the buy-in that we have, and we all know what we're trying to do. So yeah, it's pretty, they work their butts off, and I'm pointing to the room that they're in. They work their butts off over there. But they are super, super talented. And, when we do the editing, it's, the players know, the coaching staff knows, the front office knows that we're doing this to be transparent and to make sure that our fans are along this journey with us. And we're not ever going to put, folks in a situation that's going to, embarrass anyone. But you also want to make sure that we get the real raw stories out there. And we built that trust, and it's exciting. And I'm pumped this year for some of the fan stories that are going to come through. So I think we actually launched that in the last episode. And so working with the supporters to show their stories and to show how much work goes into all that they do.
Has there been a piece of content or a story or a snippet in any of these episodes this season that came as a surprise to you when you saw it? Since you have the trust in the individuals when it comes to the creative process and then the edit, when you go into the room and you see the rough cut, was there a piece, and you don't have to necessarily identify the player or the situation, but was there a piece that you're like, wow, I didn't know that, or wow, that was cool? Was there a wow factor or a cool factor that hit you this season so far?
I think the wow factor to me is when there's been a few, but the biggest wow factor is when you look at, some of the biggest kind of sports documentaries, oftentimes it's shot with multiple cameras. Ours is shot with one. And so when we're capturing this footage, you got to remember that we've got one person, and the fact we're getting these shots and they're in the right time, the right places, the right angles. To me, there's a number of times that I've been like, man, that was from one camera. We didn't have three working on the same storyline. It was one. And so whether it's, the scenes, even with, it's not easy to shoot someone in a car driving, so some of those scenes with Derek or Saba, to be able to capture those and actually keep people engaged in those little one-on-one conversations isn't easy. And I always think some of our match footage is truly spectacular.
And it really is. The whole cinematic element is really cool. And after you, I'm going to bring in our resident videographer, Nick Alifi, and we'll kind of compare notes with what he sees from what you guys are going through. So it's kind of dovetailed into a nice half hour here. Another couple of minutes with you. Where is this storyboard, by the way? Because you pointed to the room. Where is this storyboard? How big is it? And can you read all of the squiggles and lines and figure out what directions they're going?
You definitely can't read all the squiggles and lines and what directions they're going. You definitely can't read that. The storyboard, it's a wall, but it often gets erased and then rewritten. But we keep it under wraps. We keep it under wraps.
So literally there is the literal black cloth over the top of it so no one can see it, and you have to duck under the black cloth to kind of see.
And then you got to turn on a flashlight. So it's kind of like a kid's tent. You got to turn on a flashlight to read the board, and then we shut it again. No, I do think the board, it's not literally a board, but there's some brainstorming walls that we have where you write things up and you do start mapping them out. Like I said, sometimes they change, but you like to have a path. And then if you have to take a hard left, you take a hard left.
All right. One more question before we let you go, because you're one of the busiest people on this or any other universe. What else is going on community-wise, outreach and things like that folks need to know about with Atlanta United, in addition to making sure that they watch Rooted 95,000 times and get immersed in every episode?
95,000 times would be wonderful. One thing I would say is, anytime you see anybody that's worked in this industry, and Nick, I think you said that was his name's coming on next.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy to make long form content that people want to watch and stay engaged with. So, singing their praises would be awesome. And we also love the feedback. So keep the feedback coming here. If there's a storyline, shoot it over to us. We would love to know what do people want to see, because we don't have all those answers. What do we have going on? Obviously, this Saturday we play at 2:30, which exciting times to have an afternoon match on a beautiful Saturday. So we've got 4 matches coming up. I think there's 4 home matches in May, in addition to this one this weekend. Big stretch of road games. It's excited to watch the guys come together on the pitch, but I think off the pitch too. For us, festival season has begun in Atlanta, and for us to re-engage with our fans, like our ones that have been with us from the beginning, bringing all the newer ones into the fold. I think for us to be out on the streets, meeting everybody where they are and really immersing ourselves in the city is the biggest priority that we have right now. And then the other priority is making sure we're listening to everyone. So excited to see what's going on in the streets, hearing from our fans. And again, the more information we get from people, the better. So we love to hear from people, and whether it's via email or on the streets or we're at festivals and checking out. I would also, slightly hint at start getting your flags out. Weather's getting better, so might start taking the streets again from a flag perspective and bringing some of those things around.
Okay. So we will certainly do that. Senior Vice President, Chief Business Officer, Sarah Kate Noftsinger. It's great to see you.
You too.
Great to have you come and crash the morning show. You know you have a golden ticket status now. So if there's anything on your mind you want to get into, or even on Friday in the hour of chaos when we talk about everything going on in Major League Soccer,
would love that. At some point, I want a tour of all those scarves and the balls back. I think it's balls and hats and everything. I got to see all that stuff. That's an incredible collection you got.
Well, the boss is the one who, oh, by the way, shower, the multi-tiered towel racks, the three level towel racks are God's gift to scarf holding. I have it here. I've got it in other shoulder there. And full disclosure, the boss was wondering with all of the hats and everything, and she had to reinforce with curtain rods because of the weight of the scarves down here. I've got like 425 hats from all the events I've covered and things. And so she's like, well, what are we going to do with all your hats? And so we're going to put a nail in the wall and put a hat on each one. I said, that might get a little messy. So she had our handyman come in and create a train track about a foot below the ceiling. And so I can pyramid all the hats and do whatever I need to. So I can rotate about 250 hats at any given time above me here in Office HD. So that's where we are. Welcome to the studio space, by the way.
Pretty awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll see you Saturday, Skate. Thanks again.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. There goes Skate. And we're going to bring in Nick. And Nick, now that you were listening and watching the conversation this morning, let me bring you in as our resident cinematographer.
Yes.
And I wanted to, and thanks to Atlanta United for letting us borrow Skate for 20 minutes and talk about Rooted in the Stripes and what it's like and to see all of that. But I wanted to bring you in, because I wanted to ask you about this past weekend and what it was like hanging out with folks that were visiting from the Premier League, but to get your cinematic input about everything that you've seen with Rooted and your approaches and things like that.
So the first thing I would say is that with that content house that they have over at Atlanta United, I will tell you that in our world, in our creative world, there is sort of a friendly rivalry amongst anyone with a camera.
Yes.
And because everybody, anytime you see somebody get a really great shot, you're like, ooh, I wish I would have been able to get that.
Mm-hmm.
It is very rare to see any sort of entity that is not content first put the kind of money and resources into content creation that Atlanta United has.
Mm-hmm.
It is also very hard to see anyone recruit and retain the talent that Atlanta United has.
Yeah.
They're very damn good at what they do. The shots that they get from inside the locker rooms, inside the car, and Skate's not lying. Shooting inside of a car is extraordinarily difficult. Your light is changing constantly.
Mm-hmm.
The car is in motion. You can't control the road. And as a cinematographer, you want as much as humanly possible under your control. And in a car, there's zero outside of like roughly your framing. Anything else is just icing on the cake. So what they do there, it is extraordinarily good. And so getting into this weekend, I was shooting with the group from West Ham United coming in for Premier League Summer Series, and we were going around town shooting content. And one of the bits of content that we were shooting was up at the training ground, and so that group came out and they were hand holding a Red, which is it's a high end cinema grade camera, and a lot of times
Christmas list,
yeah, please add that to the Christmas list. You see people who will oftentimes try to put them on some sort of stabilizer, and it is something where if you see somebody freehanding a cinema cam,
mm-hmm.
and they're getting not only are they getting their framing right, but it is very steady and it is very clean, you're good.
Yeah.
And I'm watching them sitting here freehanding a Red running around, and I'm over there kind of out of the corner of my eye looking like, wow, this guy's moving pretty well. Good Lord. You know? Because that's the one knock on these cinema cameras is that it's not easy to run and gun with a Red. A Red is a camera that's typically mounted on a tripod, mounted on a dolly, mounted on some sort of stabilizer. And you've got to be really good at what you do to freehand those things. And so watching the content that they put out regularly, I nerd out anytime I get around them. And I know I annoy the hell out of them. Because I'm like, are you guys shooting on Cook lenses? What are you guys shooting on? What do you guys? Hey, what about? And so, and we always do it. You know, every cinematographer does it with each other. So it's just be very fortunate with the crew that you have here in Atlanta, because not everybody's doing that. And also I have to give sort of a shout out to the team, because there are a lot of teams that would be so hyper protective of an image that a lot of the stuff that we've seen rooted in the stripes, especially toward the end of Gonzalo Pineda's tenure, going into
it's warts and all, and there was no hiding.
Yeah, and to me that was good productions don't start and end with cinematography. A good production is, one, made in the edit, and two, you need a lot of green lights from your producers, your executive producers. Yep, go ahead, shoot this. Yep, go ahead, leave this in. And this isn't Hollywood. You know, this isn't this isn't something where you have somebody saying, "Ooh, this is going to be spicy. Yeah, leave that in." You have an organization that's trying to put butts in seats. And if they are putting out a video that says, "Hey, look, we're having some significant turmoil here," that's brave. That's really brave. And kudos to everyone who gave a green light on sending that content out, because I don't see really any other teams that are doing that. So I think the only other times that I've really seen at a professional level a team do this is when they did the I want to say Being Liverpool, and I want to say the Man City doc on Amazon, where they got Pep in the locker room saying, "I will always defend you out there, but in here I'm telling you the truth," and he kind of nukes the team. That's really the only other places I've seen it. So it's very impressive to see the green lights and the bravery that come out of there. So it's pretty damn awesome.
Well, and then there was another scene in another section of the last Rooted that sticks with me, and you can talk about it both cinematographically and from content. And it was when they had Saba in the car. And you mentioned how difficult it is to shoot in an automobile and have a story being told, and making sure that everything is navigable from a video standpoint, one, so it's viewable. And then when you have someone who is as open and honest like Saba is about being a dad, being a new dad, being, having a new family aspect, those kinds of stories, like I said, those kinds of stories, to have that kind of content and to be able to shoot it in the way that you were able to where it is, one, it's manageable, and two, you really are able to see the rawness of the individual, and you don't get bogged down in, okay, iris up, iris down, okay, this is on auto iris, I'm getting freaked out. I think that speaks a lot to the talent pool that's up there that should be winning every blanking award known to humankind when you submit awards to these kinds of things.
Yeah, you're shooting at an awkward angle. One, you're shooting at an awkward angle. Two, well, I would like to know how much time in the training room the videographer or cinematographer have to spend after shooting at an awkward angle like that for that period of time.
Do they have free chiropractic there?
I would like to. These are questions.
In the building.
Yeah, these are questions I need to know. But also, the one thing, if you talk to anybody who does this professionally, what they'll tell you is there is a major difference between shooting scripted narrative content where you could say, okay, I'm getting my master shot here, I'm getting a talk, and a talk and response cuts, and I'm cycling between all of these different sequences here, And a major difference between that and run and gun documentary style shooting. You can shoot whatever you want. That does not mean it's going to cut together. And so whenever you can shoot in that way and have it cut together as well as they cut their stuff together, that's a skill. So salute to them, because they're doing it right now better than I think anybody else in this league.
Yeah. So now what we need, at least now, handed to you, not handed to me, because
Mhm.
I would sit there and look at this equipment and go, yeah, okay, fine. So what you're asking for is the laundry list of equipment that they have in the building that you can have at the Casa de Alifi, so you can continue to function in your manners at SDH.
Well, I would, to an extent, yes. I want the lenses. That's my thing. I want the lenses. I shoot on a Canon. I shoot a Canon R5C, which is the size and profile that allows me to sort of live out of one pack, right? So when I travel, I can take, it's the size of a like a DSLR or standard mirrorless setup, but I could shoot 8K cinema raw light with it. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about my ability to shoot whatever I need to shoot. So I'm good from a body perspective, but those lenses, my goodness, yes, I'll take those. That would be very helpful. But one thing is that, and I think it's been pretty well known that talking about this past weekend,
Mm-hmm.
shooting with the team from West Ham.
Yep.
I need to go ahead and kind of put some stuff out there, and one is that I think it's pretty well known that I rag on the Premier League in England a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
When the opportunity came up to shoot for West Ham,
yeah,
I was like, okay, this is cool. This would be nice to put on the reel. This will be nice to put on, and that's what all of us do. All of us who are in this world say, okay, wow, this is great to add to the portfolio. This is amazing. To have the name on there was like, okay, awesome. However, when we started rolling around, it was myself, it was 3 gentlemen, much younger guys than me, from West Ham, from their marketing and outreach team, and former Premier Leaguer Carlton Cole,
mm-hmm.
who is a very large individual. And they said, look, we're going out, we're doing outreach, we're trying to shoot 120 goals because it's 120 days
right.
to Premier League Summer Series. And I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, sure thing. This is gonna be fine and awesome. Number one, these guys came off a plane and immediately went to work. I have no concept of how any of these men were able to keep up and keep going with jet lag and everything else. I mean, they were all on like 3 hours of sleep, and they're like, all right, let's go. 2, I watched these guys go and literally give the shirts off their backs
mm-hmm.
to anyone who was remotely receptive to West Ham.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, in this town, you get a lot of people, who are Man United fans, Liverpool, Arsenal, some Spurs fans out there as well. And I had concerns. I was like, how is this city gonna be receptive to West Ham, right? It was so unbelievable, the love fest that I got to get on camera between the West Ham people, between the city of Atlanta, and how everybody reacted. And I think one of the best moments was off camera, was that they wanted to go to an Atlanta United game, right? So, okay, great. They did go to the tailgate, Abby, by the way, but they were all sitting there watching the game, and there was this family sitting behind us, and I was sitting next to, I was not in my normal seats. I was sitting next to the West Ham guys, and there was a family behind us, and there was this kid who had to be maybe, I would say probably maybe 12 years old. And he was a little cold. and the West Ham guys were kind of chatting back and forth, having a brew, and one of the marketing guys looked back at, his name was Liam, and Liam looks back and says, he's like, "Hey mate, you cold?" And the kid's like, he kind of nodded, and he goes, "Oh, here." And Liam took off his jacket, gave it to the kid, and said, "Here, wear this." And then at the end of the game, the mom's like, "Okay, go ahead and give the jacket back to him so you don't forget it, honey." And Liam goes, "No, mate, keep it." And but you're a West Ham supporter now. Come on, you Irons. And they did like the "Come on, you Irons," the cross arms thing. And it was such a touching moment, because then Carlton turns around and, stands up, and this kid sees this, large man towering over him.
Fucking massive humanity.
Yeah. And Carlton kind of puts his arm around him and brings him in and has a conversation with him. And I got that on recording, but I didn't make sure not to record what was said between them. I wanted it be between the two of them.
Right.
And the kid's eyes just lit up.
Yeah.
Huge, massive smile. The family, everybody's just talking, and it was just such a wonderful experience. I think I was on like 3 hours of sleep all weekend.
Yeah.
I took a selfie with Carlton at the end, and I refused to post it because I look like an absolute cave troll, because I was like, so robbed of sleep.
Right.
But it was, between that and their experience at the brew house, they had a West Ham watch party, and it was this moment where they got a player right after the game to do a FaceTime with Carlton Cole, and it was supposed to be 2 West Ham supporters. It ended up being like 7.
Entire room.
And they're all piled around Carlton Cole. They're all like, "Come on, you are," like yelling and screaming and all that.
Right.
But it was amazing to watch, this team come in. And the one conversation, and this goes to the city of Atlanta. We were walking along by Centennial Park, and Liam turns around to me, and I'm not going to do the accent, but he says, this is mad. He said, everywhere we've gone, there's been some sort of football, soccer gear everywhere. Like shirts, hats, scarves, something, everybody. He goes, we didn't see this in New York. We didn't see this in Chicago. Only here have we seen this kind of like love for the sport. And so we were at Krog Street Tunnel. We were at Centennial Olympic Park. We were at Piedmont Park. We were down by the Fox Theater. And it was just everywhere we went. And the fact that they had like the tram that has all decked out in Atlanta United, like wall, I guess, stickers, I guess, like a body sticker all over it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, look, the tram's all Atlanta United. This is crazy." I mean, they were just blown away by the city's love of the sport. So well done to the city of Atlanta as well for buying in. Yeah, the rapping. There you go. That's the name.
Yes.
So well done to Atlanta, because we really represented, and they loved Mercedes-Benz. And this is all off camera, so they weren't performative. This wasn't performative in any way. They loved the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They said this would easily be one of the top stadiums in England. They loved it. They loved the energy, even though it was a spring break crowd at the home game. Between the music selection, the way that the people were getting into the music, the supporters section was just going nuclear. It was they just, I think they fell in love with this city just as much as we love this city, right? And so they were absolutely on board with it. It's hard to, I can't say enough that Mercedes-Benz really allowed us a ton of access. Obviously, going up to the training ground was a great experience. Spectre and Jonathan Spector and Carlton Cole used to play together. So
Yeah,
it was really,
I saw the video of Speck walking out and seeing Carlton. Yeah,
yeah, and John De Silva as well. So John De Silva and Carlton Cole had some conversations there. It was just really cool to watch, and I got to give a shout out to the people of the city as well. You know, this is my hometown, and to watch people in my hometown, anytime you bring like one of your friends over to your neighborhood, you're like, oh my God, are my friends going to accept these people or not?
yeah.
Is this going to be weird?
Yep.
No, the city was like straight up all on board. You know, signing, you know, they jumped on camera. They took shots on this little goal. They were completely on board with it. All, you know, the little kids that were going up to Hammerhead, the mascot for West Ham, and like
Hammerhead.
And there's this one shot in our video of this little girl who shot on the goal, and she would not stop giggling at Hammerhead the entire time. Like her dad was trying to talk to talk to the West Ham guys, and she was just kept giggling and like walking up and hugging Hammerhead. And shout out to the Hammerhead. It was as hot as anything.
Ooh.
And they were still out there.
Figure Hammerhead lost at least 10, if not 15.
Easily. But yeah, so if I have a prim team, I have to say now it's the fellows at West Ham, because they really they put their heart on their sleeve, and they went out there and they really tried to make it a fun event for the city, and the city gave it right back to them. So, and Kelly, our driver, all around, he was amazing. He was hilarious. He was one of the guys who shot on the goal as well. So, I mean, it's a spectacular weekend. And so, yeah, Premier League Summer Series. If you're going, make sure you buy your tickets for West Ham, because you know, hey, look, I haven't seen any other Premier League teams coming here, right? I haven't seen any of the other ones coming here.
You know, Jack Collison's going to give you a big old hug next time he sees you with all this pub.
I mean, by all means, let's go. Look, it is massive love. So all I'm saying is, anybody else in the Premier League Summer Series did not come out here and invest the time, the money, and the energy to make that kind of happen. So, Abby, you are messing my narrative up by saying they're all coming in different weeks.
Nick's living in the present tense.
I'm living in the present. I'm living in the present, not the future. That's why the present's a gift.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, you and Sophia with the stills, and you with the video, getting your pub on the NBC family of networks on Saturday morning, getting shown all across the board.
That to me is I have two career highlights that you know, I used to work at NCAA.com.
Yes.
And during March Madness, you know, they were like, hey, we need somebody to put together you know, this dunk video, and you know, who can put it together. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. So I put together this dunk video, and you know, a couple hours later, somebody came and knocked on my editing bay door and said, hey, have you seen the pictures yet? And I said, what pictures of what? They said, it's at Times Square. Your video is running on the giant TV in Times Square. And as a kid who lived in New Jersey, right, that was a dream. And I sat in my editing bay, and I think I cried for like an hour having that happen.
Yeah.
But it is I'm walking through the stadium, and you know, I'm checking the WhatsApp, and they said, hey, the NBC ran the ran the video,
the 120 goals, yeah,
the 120 goals video, and the West Ham guys over on the English side were chiming in like, get in, you know, like. And again, I felt like this. I can't believe that I shot something, and let me tell you something. I barely got that in. Like, I want to say like a minute and a half to spare.
Yeah.
So it was razor thin.
Deadline pressure, brother.
But we got it in. And you know, that is something that I'll never forget seeing my video with the Premier League graphics running in front of it. And then, that was something very special. But yes, Abby, that is my premier team now. Yes.
Yes.
I typically, I would observe folks from afar, but never had like a vested heavy interest. Milan is my
Okay. All right. So
Milan is my team.
I'm using my first time out here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So we were in opening kickoff, and we were discussing dibs and how apparently the franchise that plays at the Erector Set in Fort Lauderdale has dibs on Kevin De Bruyne. Color me shocked. But in the copy of the article that I read, they were now being referred to as just Inter. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. The only Inter I know, Nick, is the one that you have continually referenced in soccer over there.
Yeah.
Well, it is Inter Milan, and it is Messi and friends. There is no way on God's green earth or any other planet that club should be referenced as Inter down in Fort Lauderdale. But the copy of the article from one of the soccer writers referred to them as Inter.
Yeah, that's inaccurate. There was a massive legal battle because Inter the proper
Into the Milan.
Yeah, Inter the Milan. And that is the battle was Inter had said that they were going to be known as Inter going forward, not Internazionale, but just Inter. And so they had that locked down. And then Miami comes along and says, we are Inter Miami. And started, there, and so of course on digital, they were all saying it's Inter. And so Inter Milan is like, yeah, that's no.
Like, no, bro.
You're infringing upon our copyright. So if you want to be Internacional Miami, great, go for it, but you're not going to be known as Inter. And so that is a legal battle that has been playing out. There will be billable hours. I don't know how, I don't know how in the world they are getting away with this.
Well, I think it was a written word by an article writer. It was by a sports writer. It was not listed by the team, I don't think, but it was listed by a particular writer for a sports classification that used the word in referring to the club. I think that's probably going to get a C&D order pretty quick.
Well, there's part of this is that Inter of the blue and black, I'll put it this way. There were, in the time of fascism in Italy, hold on one second. I got to take this call real quick. So fill time for me for 30 seconds.
I will.
Okay.
So Abby is saying that particular writer should be fined. That particular writer, just to refer to this particular writer, that particular writer, let's just say that his particular employer is very athletic. So if you have a subscription, that was where that particular phraseology came from. So if there is an issue, then perhaps the club at the club in Serie A needs to take umbrage and issue with that particular soccer writer whose publication is very athletic. Like I said, that was what I read it this morning, and I'm like, no, there's only one Inter, and it's for Nick's league and Nick's Milan franchise. It has nothing to do with the particular franchise in Fort Lauderdale. So yes. Oh wow, way to go, Rich. Rich won the March Madness bracket up in Philly. So, Rich, by the way, Thursday night, Chester, 2s and Philadelphia Union 2. Be there. We need you on camera, flashing SDH gear in Chester at Subaru Park for the 2s and the 2s.
There we go.
We're gonna have the broadcast on the network, but yeah. So Abby is maintaining that that particular writer should be fined.
Well, here's the thing: is the inter name is very important, right? And I'm taking off my AC Milan love at the moment. In the time of fascism, Mussolini tried to force all the teams in Italy to only go by their city name, and it was a way to sort of impose government mandated pride. Right. So that's one of the tenets of fascism, is this forced work, this forced pride, that this performative pride that gets shoved out there. So he tried merging a whole bunch of teams together. So AS Roma was made from an amalgamation of like 5 or 6 teams shoved into one. They tried making Juve change their name. They tried making all of these other, like AC Milan. They tried making Milano, right? Because Milan is an anglicized version, because the club was founded by Mr. Gilpin. So it was, it was AC Milan, not Milano. So, but Mussolini said, no, it's going to be Milano now. And Inter, you have to change your name as well. And Inter was one of the very few teams that said, hell no, we're fighting back and we're not doing this. So the name Inter is historically relevant. It is historically important because it is a name of defiance. And I'm saying this as an AC Milan fan.
Yeah, I mean, you get it. You have the background.
100%. And there was a period, every club has a dark period of time. There was a time in my club's history where they didn't want anyone of an international background. None. They wanted to be all Italian. And so the international guys broke away. And that is one of the reasons we got Internazionale, because it was made up of all the international people who were rejected from AC Milan. That name is a name of defiance. And that name should be respected. And while people wearing pink and black may think that it's convenient and lovely to have Inter Miami, because Miami is a very international city. You have Italians, you have Colombians, Peruvians. I mean, name it across the board. They're living down in Miami. And so that may be an appropriate name for your club, but you must understand that the people you were trying to thieve that name from have paid for that name in blood, literally sweat and tears. So I have kind of an issue with people saying, hey, you must respect our pink and black Inter as much as the blue and black Inter, because a marketing team sat down and came up with it, as opposed to having people, government thugs, putting rifles into team leadership's faces and saying, change the name or else.
Yeah.
These are two very different stories. And so I'm sorry that I don't respect your marketing team's efforts as much as I respect the people who, the dearly departed, Cross City team, who literally stood on business to keep their name. So one group stood on business and one group stands on marketing.
I was going to say, one group stood on business and the other's trying to make business.
Right. So the question is for everybody else out there, including these sports writers who clearly have not done any homework whatsoever, you tell me which one you're backing. So I would rather back the group that stood up to fascists than said, hey, this is going to look really cute in our pink and black and look really good on our marketing. our marketing billboards and our any sort of local activation. Get out of here with that. Sorry, I'm not buying it.
Nope.
So
Yes. We started the show talking about the dibs rule and how much we hate it, and how much it once again may benefit the folks at Messi and Friends. We also talked about the twos and the chaos that has been with the twos over the last couple of days and going to be the next couple of days. It was 2 days, 2 venues, 25 minutes, and then 65 minutes, and Atlanta United 2 got the win. So the wackiness continues with the weather and the twos, and the battle of the broken broom went to the five stripes, but it took until 12:30 yesterday afternoon for that to happen.
that's madness. Good Lord.
Traditionally, what we do here is we go over the rest of what happened in Major League Soccer on your Tuesday. Nick, your thoughts? We'll start with Atlanta United with you, since it's been a while since you've been with us here in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on Atlanta United and what happened against FCD?
We got to hold a lead. We have to hold. We have to hold a lead. It was crazy to hear, when Atlanta took the lead. The West Ham guys were all like, "All right, yeah, you guys are in business, man." And everyone around them turned around and said, "Yeah, but we can't hold a lead." And I mean, sure enough. So I think I think Ronnie is probably he's got a pretty decent head of hair, but I'm sure that there's probably some patches where he's kind of trying to figure out how in the hell that they work their tactics to be able to hold a lead.
Yeah.
You can't let these teams, and this is something that's been happening for a couple of seasons, hang out and level things up and make it a true 50-50 game. You can't do that. The attacking prowess on this team, I think, is unquestioned, but I just want to know how we're going to address, and that whether that's tactics, whether that's personnel, I don't know. Maybe a combination of above, maybe a combination of us sacrificing a chicken or something. I don't know, but we need to figure out how we're going to hold a lead. Because once we figure that out, this team is going to be a very, very dangerous team. But, attacking wise, we look good. There were moments I loved Mayomba's hyping the crowd up. Some of his tackling was just exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
That was one thing that we were all talking about was the level of tackling in this game, the timing of it, the angle of the tackle coming in was just spot on, perfect. And I love seeing that. I wish that yet again, officiating in this league would be, I don't know, consistent.
Oh no, I don't know about that.
It's just it's mind bending to me that we're still here. We're going to keep the cards in the pockets, and then all of a sudden one comes out and then it's a waterfall.
Well, and then you have a foul called late on basically what would have been a one versus a keeper, instead of letting the play the action on the field play out, and then have VAR correct a clear and obvious if it was that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there were some ridiculous fouls on Atlanta United players that were uncalled.
Yes, that's true.
But at the end of the day, it's one thing in boxing that you always hear, and that's never leave it up to the officials. And it's just like boxing, there are two fighters in the ring. Both of those fighters have a say-so in how that fight ends. The last thing you want to do is have a third person decide how that fight goes. So Atlanta is going to have to do even more to figure out how to make that fight end in their favor, and to keep it from going to the scorecard and keep it from going to the officials. We've got to figure that out, because even if the ref sucks, if you win, if you win 2-0, there's nothing the ref can do about it.
Yep. That also plays into getting that second goal too.
Correct. And so we have to figure it out. And, I think it's a process that just is going to keep getting worked on. Thank God we're in April, we're not in August, September. So, we're going to have to figure it out and get it sorted, but it's going to have to be something where it's clear now that pro will never change. It's not. Now, whether that's because the pipeline of officiating is so terrible because we, the fans and parents, have made it that way, or because something with the educational process, I don't know. Maybe a combination of all. But I mean, man, something's got to be figured out with this, man.
Yes, absolutely true. The other events that went down in Major League Soccer on Saturday, and obviously Jason will get to catch up with Tyler Pilgrim from Scarves and Spikes tomorrow at 9:15, and Dylan Butler at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Charlotte over Nashville 2-1. Walker Zimmerman was taken to hospital after Kerwin Vargas decided to try and do a bicycle kick and ended up making serious contact. It was a scary injury with Walker Zimmerman, but Zimmerman went to hospital, was released from hospital. Obviously, got to keep an eye on that. RSL a 2-0 winner over LAG. Cincinnati held New England to no goals. Once again, 3 goals scored this season by New England in all competitions in Major League Soccer. 2 of those goals by Carlos Heel in 1 game against Red Bulls. Columbus, I'd like to thank Columbus crew for a minute. Columbus beat Montreal 2-1. And because of that, I get to continue to drink on camera, at least for the rest of this week.
Ooh,
the regular Mountain Dew. I do not, because my claim was that if Montreal got a win in their last 2 road games after they let go of Laurent Courtois, which was a mistake, that I was going to, if they had beaten either Cincinnati or Chicago or Columbus, I was going to drink Diet Mountain Dew on the air. That's how much confidence I had in those teams going up against the CF Montreal, who started their season with 7 road games because they couldn't play in the Big O because the umbrella's broken, and they can't play in Montreal because of conditions. You don't want them playing orange ball for the first 7 weeks of the year. So they were on the road for the first 7 weeks, and they went no wins in that. So thank you, Columbus crew, for making sure that I could drink regular Mountain Dew on the air. I really appreciate that. New York beat Chicago 2-1. Scoreless draws, Philadelphia and the purple team, Austin and Portland. Kansas City over St. Louis in the I-71 Derby 2-0. Houston with another one of the surprises, 1-0 over LAFC. Vancouver over Colorado in a shutout. San Diego beat Seattle in a shutout 3-0. That one was over at halftime. Minnesota beat NYC 2-1. And the other 2 surprises on the week, I'll build backward. Messi and Friends ties Toronto, or actually, because Toronto had the lead. So Toronto FC gets a point in Fort Lauderdale at the Erector Set, 1-1 draw with Inter Miami, Messi and Friends. And then San Jose. What in the blue-ish is going on in D.C.? 6 on the board for San Jose, including a hat trick for some guy named Joseph. It could have been worse, and I fully anticipated Troy Lesane or players being left on the tarmac at the airport that we get to see off camera left at 10 o'clock when the cameras pan that way at PayPal Park. That was nasty, and I'm keeping an eye on D.C. I was supposed to be keeping an eye, I guess, on Houston and Ben Olsen, but they get a win against LAFC, so I guess my hot seat shifts to D.C. and Troy Lesane for giving up 6 in San Jose. And Brian Dunseth on the air asked, where's the leadership? Not just necessarily on the touchline, but on the field. It looked like it was over.
DC's been a mess. I mean, Ben Olsen, I think it's hard sometimes to look back, right? It's hard to look back and say, okay, yes, and recognize certain things.
Yeah.
It is quite clear now that Ben Olsen was fighting an uphill battle in that city, trying to get a respectable team on the field, right?
Yeah.
it's quite clear that ownership group has, and I think Rich right here said it.
Yeah.
The ownership has stopped caring. Yeah, I think they've checked out. And they, at one time, it's easy to get high in your own supply. It's easy to, sit there and be like, yeah, we're a legacy team and we're a legacy brand. You hear it all the time. I think it's quite clear that team is getting high on their own supply about being a legacy brand and not being a competitive team now, because they've gone through how many different managers, and it's not happening there. So, that team needs to get new ownership. They need to get sorted, get some significant help in there, because I think there are people in Europe who would like to live in DC, Yeah. I think there are people in South America who would love wonderful, steady paychecks to come in and be the star at a place like DC. Then you can't tell me that talent's not available. I mean, every damn team that wants talent in this league can
Christian
get it.
Blanking Benteke is supposedly playing in DC right now.
Yeah, well,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Colleen Rooney does not want to live in DC. Does not.
No.
I have a feeling she doesn't want to live with Wayne, but
yes, issue.
I think that was the big problem there.
Slight issue.
Yeah, slight challenges on that one. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen with DC, man. They got to. If I'm Benteke, I'm like, yeah, you can send me somewhere else. Anytime you're ready.
Yeah, good to go anytime. Now I want to take the tour and let everybody know what else is going on news-wise this morning. It appears, and this is our go-round, I guess, of stupidity down here, that according to Jamie Jackson at The Guardian, a man has been charged with assault for allegedly slapping Jack Grealish at Old Trafford at the end of the derby between United and City on Sunday, entered in the 74th. It is thought to have been near the tunnel at the Stretford end when the man is alleged to have struck the City forward. A statement from Greater Manchester Police on Monday said a 20-year-old man from Droylsden had been charged with assault. Quote, he will appear at Manchester Magistrates Court on 14 July. So he's got 96 days from today after he's been charged with assault before his court date pops up. This charge relates to an incident which took place at Old Trafford yesterday, meaning Monday. United and City declined comment. Phil Foden abused by United fans who chanted about his mother. Invective directed at the winger during the first half. After the game, Pep stated those who did so lacked class. Both teams condemned the chants. The FA will not take any action, although the governing body condemns offensive chants. Those in question did not breach its regulations. So it wasn't offensive enough or went down the wrong pathway for the FA to say something, I guess.
I've said it before.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to keep saying it. There's a problem in sports today, and the problem is us.
Mm-hmm.
Being a quote-unquote fan has changed, where sports from being a pastime or being a diversion now has become an outlet, and people feel that they can say or do whatever the hell they want.
Mm-hmm.
The fan who Rick James'd, old boy, is lucky, should consider himself quite lucky that he didn't get 5 right back across the face.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how weak you think some of these players are. These are professional damn athletes who do nothing but train every day. I'm pretty sure if one of them decided to go 5 across the eyes, they could probably slap you to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So have fun. And it's the same thing talking about Phil Foden's mama. If somebody, there's some folks out there. I remember one time a response that I heard to your mama joke is, my mama's dead, and unless you want to join her, keep talking.
Yeah.
All right. So there are some people who don't play.
No.
When it comes to that.
No.
They will slap you to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's true.
we got to figure this out as fans. We really do. Because we're crossing lines to the point where it's not even like it I don't know. It's just I go back to a friend of mine. His dad was a major league pitcher, and he found out I was a Yankees fan, and he said that's the one team I'd never play for because I could never bring my family to a game.
Yeah.
And this guy played in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
He played in Philly. He played in Boston. He said, I will never, ever, I would have never, ever played for the Yankees. And Roy Halladay said the same thing. Because the fans were just too toxic, too crazy.
And Halladay played in Philly.
Yeah. So it's something where, it's the same thing with, Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
There are lines that people cross that you just can't. I mean, Grealish is from Birmingham. I love Rich's insight here. Grealish is from Birmingham and was well known to get in fights growing up. He'll fight back. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced, and this is me as a middle-aged man now. I am convinced that half our challenges are that we don't slap the blank out of people who get free with the mouth anymore. There was a time where if you were in high school,
there was a time.
You kids don't understand. But there was a time that if you popped off at the mouth in school, you didn't get a mean tweet put out about you. You didn't get an Instagram or a snap or anything else. You got 5 to the teeth. And you learned, maybe I shouldn't say things like that. Maybe. And I'm not condoning violence, but I am saying that we are in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that person is very lucky that Grealish did not immediately come back and just, yeah, man, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. A couple of stories involving Chelsea that we get into, but yes, that particular story, there's a reason that we have the Roy Kent speech from the press conference as one of our drops here on the morning show. Basically, and paraphrasing our man Roy Kent from AFC Richmond, just because you buy a ticket, some folks think that means that you can say whatever abusive issue you want.
Yep.
And that is not the case.
It's not.
As we always say, freedom of speech does not escape freedom of consequence.
Correct. And this is not, and even in pro wrestling, there are some lines that are being crossed. Like we saw this with when Kevin Owens in WWE is going to be out for 2 years because he has to get neck surgery. And he was walking out of the arena and some fans started ripping into him.
Yeah, and one of the fans started yelling "ish."
Yeah. And brother, you want to talk trash to a professional wrestler, man, good luck to you because you're making life choices.
Mm-hmm.
You're entitled to a show. You're not entitled to be part of the show.
Correct.
No one has qualified you to be part of a show. YouTube, TikTok, and all these other platforms may lie to you and tell you that you're a star. Tubi may say that you can be the star of your own movie, but that doesn't mean you're the star of life. So keep running your mouth, and one day the tide's going to turn and people are going to start like correcting that stuff on the spot. So be mindful of what you say and when you say it. That's it.
Well, little soccer over there for us this morning. Chelsea's facing a UEFA punishment after selling the women's team to themselves.
Okay. Oh my God. All right.
They sold it to themselves for £200 million, and the deal for the champs likely is going to result from a UEFA fine and the threat of European expulsion if the team is found in the breach of spending limits again. This is from Tom Morgan at the Telegraph.
Oh my God.
Chelsea facing a UEFA fine as the governing body refuses to allow the club to offset losses against the £200 million sale of the women's team to a sister company. Kind of like they tried to do with the hotel. They sold the hotel to themselves to help out with PSR, profit and sustainability. A likely fine will be agreed, along with threat of exclusion from a European competition in the future should they be found in breach of spending limits. Again, settlement talks have begun with the European body, which, unlike the Premier League, will exclude the women's sale figure from spending calculations. UEFA monitoring for all club finances is going until the end of May. Multiple insiders confirm dialogue is already underway after the Times first reported a fine was likely. The exact extent, according to Morgan, of Chelsea's breach is unclear. A 3-year club loss of £358 million appears well in excess of UEFA rules, allowing clubs to lose a maximum of $170 over the same period. So twice apparently is in excess.
Oh my God.
But deductions can be made by the club for spending on youth, women's teams, and infrastructure.
Yeah.
So Chelsea confirmed last week they valued their women's team at £200 million before selling it to a related company last year. Monday, they announced a pre-tax profit of 128.4, and all this is in all in British pounds. For the year ending June 30, 2024, which they said had been achieved in part by raising $198.7 million from the sale of subsidiaries. The full accounts have now been published, and it shows the entirety of that 198.7 was generated from the sale of the women's team to Blueco Midco, a subsidiary of the club's parent company. The accounts show the women's team was valued at $200 million, with $1.3 million of its net assets deducted from the price. Chelsea's accounts confirm the valuation is still subject to Premier League approval. They also revealed the league disagreed with Chelsea's £76.3 million valuation. This was the hotel thing. They also revealed the league disagreed with Chelsea's £76.3 million valuation of 2 hotels sold in the prior financial year, reducing it by $6 million, which Chelsea said was reflected in these most recent accounts. Premier League confirmed that all clubs were compliant for the assessment period of 23-24. Sales of fixed assets, such as hotels and the women's team to related companies, are permitted under Premier League rules, provided they are for fair market value. A vote to close the loophole did not receive the required 14-club majority at a club's vote last summer, which dovetails into this particular story, which we have been keeping an eye on the entire time with this new group of owners. And apparently, according to our friends in the media overseas, it is apparently the case. Well, initially the way that it was laid out is that you are not supposed to you are not supposed to have any kind of a deal involving any kind of secondary ticket market involving the Premier League. Premier League, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to sell on the secondary market. It has been apparently divulged that Chelsea and Vivid Seats have a deal. So Chelsea got paid £93,000 by Vivid Seats.
Oh my God.
Linked to Todd Bowley. Peter Rutzler at the Times. Chelsea got that £93,000 payment, and the ticketing website is classed as unauthorized by the Premier League and linked to Todd Bowley. The payment made during the 23-24 season is listed under, quote, transactions with related parties, end quote, in the club's accounts published on Companies House this weekend. Basically, that's like if the IRS decides to sit there and say, okay, here are these public companies and here's their tax returns. That's what it would be like. The IRS would post it. That's what Companies House is. Last month, Chelsea Supporters Trust called on the Premier League to investigate the connection between Bowley and Vivid Seats. He led the consortium that bought Chelsea in 22 and has been a director and an investor in Vivid Seats since 2021. Vivid Seats is listed by the Premier League as an unauthorized ticket website, with the league urging fans to exercise extreme caution when dealing with the site. It is a criminal offense from an unauthorized person in the UK to sell a ticket for a designated football match, but it is not a crime in other countries. Because, as we have done on this show when this story first broke, we went on Vivid Seats, and we will do it again now, to get Chelsea tickets to Stamford Bridge and got seat quotes for Vivid Seats here in this country. In England, it is an apparent no-no if you are tied to a secondary ticket broker market, saying it all at the same time. So if that is a no-no in England, to be tied to Vivid Seats, where Todd Boehly has apparently been a part of the hierarchy for 4 years, director and investor since 2021, bought Chelsea in 2022. Premier League says secondary ticket markets are a boo-boo. But you can go onto Vivid Seats here in the United States, and you can get tickets. There are 59 tickets left, as a matter of fact, to the matchup against Ipswich Town at Stamford Bridge this Sunday. Right now, you can get in for $202 to Stamford Bridge through Vivid Seats if you wanted to go this weekend to go see Ipswich Town and Chelsea. You could do that here in the U.S. You can't do that in England because that's a no-no. But apparently, Chelsea benefited £93,000 last year as an unauthorized ticket website, I guess because folks outside of England got tickets to Chelsea matches and went to go see Chelsea. Or perhaps bought them here and then wired them to family in England so they could go. It is a criminal offense for an unauthorized person in the UK to sell a ticket for a designated football match, not a crime in other countries. Chelsea had previously stated, according to Morgan at the Times, that they are committed to, quote, tackling ticket touting, which sounds like a T-shirt, while they have also previously condemned the practice of resale profiteering, warning their season ticket holders against selling their seats for profit. So if you're a season ticket holder, don't put your ticket on the secondary market. We will wag our finger at you and probably, wipe you off the planet when it comes to the idea of you and your season tickets at Chelsea. But if the owner of Chelsea, one of the co-owners of Chelsea, is a director at Vivid Seats, and they just got £93,000 in the last fiscal year from folks that were buying tickets outside of England, Vivid Seats, Chelsea's U.S. preseason tour partner in the summer of 2023, allowed Vivid Seats to have its branding on digital platforms in stadia, as well as offering Vivid Seats members the chance to buy VIP packages, exclusive open training sessions, etc. In its open letter to Richard Masters last month, the Chelsea Supporters Trust highlighted fan discontent about the relationship between Boehly and Vivid Seats, which is still listing a ticket for the final home match of the season against Liverpool for more than £1,000. Let's check that out, shall we? Scanning to the bottom. Where are we here? Chelsea and Club Leon. Chelsea and Manchester United, May the 18th. Stamford Bridge, London, GB. Get-in price, short side upper tier, for Chelsea and Manchester United, Sunday, May the 18th at 3 o'clock, $487. You can get that right now. Right now on Vivid Seats. If you wanted to get a ticket to Chelsea and Manchester United at Stamford Bridge, you can go to Vivid Seats here in the United States, buy a ticket, fly over, and watch the match.
Yep.
You could do that. But you can't sell your ticket in the secondary market in England because that's poo-pooed.
Well, okay, so we may disagree or agree or whatever with the ability to buy and sell on the secondary market in England. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
However, there is a reason for that, right? Because as we know, there was a period of time where hooligans would be kicked out of a stadium and then would use third parties to try to get back into the stadium. Right. It has also been proven that secondary markets oftentimes jack the prices up on tickets, and it is detrimental to the atmosphere of the game. So whatever reasoning the English government wants to give, it's illegal. Chelsea is an English team. American owned, great, but an English team.
Mhm.
All of these issues that Chelsea's dealing with stem from the fact that they are trying to play a very, very dangerous game, and that's keeping up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to keep up with the Man Cities of the world. You're trying to keep up, with some of these other clubs, globally. This is not just the Premier League, and you were trying to follow Roman Abramovich. So that is extraordinarily difficult to do. The people who are going to pay the price for this idiocy are twofold. One, the women's team, who have just shown up, trained, and played and tried to win. And then also the Chelsea supporters, who, against all odds, are still hanging in.
Yes.
Despite the fact that Todd Boehly has done everything humanly possible to screw this up. It's mind-bending what Todd Boehly, even Roman Abramovich, there's in Carlo Ancelotti's autobiography, he talks about having dinner with Roman Abramovich. And Roman said, "Carlo, my darling, I want to win everything." Right? And Roman was known for firing managers, with a hair trigger. No problem.
Yeah.
Yep, you're out. However, even Roman Abramovich, as meddling as he was, did not do half the damage that Todd Boehly's been doing from an economic perspective. Like, we're going to sign everyone. In fact, we're going to sign so many people, we're going to have an overflow locker room.
Oh, yeah. No, it literally is like whomever's in charge of Chelsea as the owner, if it's Abramovich or if it's Boehly Clear Lake, it's like walking into Sharper Image and going, I want the lava lamp, I want the vibrating chair, I want the helicopter, the remote operated helicopter. I want all the stuff. That's going into the Sharper Image catalog, just going into the store and buying all of Sharper Image and taking it out.
And then on top of this, you look at a player like Caleb Wiley, right? So Wiley gets sent to Strasbourg,
correct?
Right, gets his knee injury, and then gets shipped to Watford, right?
Yeah, he was sent back to rehab at Chelsea, which makes sense. You're injured on the road on a team that you're loaned to. Your parent club's like, nah, come on home and rehab. We want our doctors to keep an eye on you. But then, yes, he was loaned out to Watford, where he is now getting playing time.
All right. So, the thing is here is that Caleb, I have no problem with Caleb going to Strasbourg, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But when you're setting up Strasbourg as this sort of, like minor league team to develop your players, and you're trying to recreate this sort of Red Bulls, I guess, system, this Red Bulls pyramid, that's difficult to do with how Chelsea's going about it. Your costs are skyrocketing.
Yep.
Profitability is a must in today's game. And you're somehow screwing all this up, and guess who's going to pay for it? The fans are going to pay for it. The players are going to pay for it. And at the end of the day, you're just going to end up selling the team to some conglomerate or some oil tycoon anyway.
Conglomerate, yeah.
Right. So I feel for the Chelsea supporters. I really, really do. But it's pointing to the way that if you're not some Middle Eastern royalty or some major conglomerate, you're not playing by the same sport as everyone else is.
No,
you're just not. So you have to find something besides wins and losses to cheer for.
Yes.
In today's game.
Yes. Let's see. So CST is asking the league to comment, and they have yet to do so. Nick, that you can get a guaranteed World Cup finals ticket?
What?
Yeah.
Madness.
Martin Ziegler at the Times has said you can get a guaranteed World Cup final ticket if you buy 20 for the Club World Cup.
20. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me get the calculator right here. Okay.
Yes.
I buy 20. What's the average price of a Club World Cup ticket? Do we know?
Well, it's probably per venue. So if you found a good venue and got a good price, so FIFA is so concerned about sluggish ticket sales for this summer's Club World Cup, offering fans the incentive of a guaranteed opportunity to buy a ticket for next year's World Cup final, offering the perk, including a guaranteed option to buy a World Cup final ticket as a reward for buying 20 Club World Cup tickets in a bid to drive interest in the expanded 32-team CWC. Launched at the time when tickets for some CWC matches are now being sold on secondary sites for less than the initial asking price.
So I imagine this, you have to go through FIFA to get not the secondary market, but through FIFA itself, right?
FIFA did not respond when asked to provide figures on ticket sales or secondary sites selling cut prices, but Gianni Infantino has been doing his bid to boost sales. Posted an Instagram video from the tournament in Miami this past weekend, imploring fans not to miss the opportunity to buy Club World Cup tickets.
Well, this is interesting here. A quick Google search, John.
Yes.
Utilizing the Googly machine.
Yes.
For the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup, ticket prices start around 30 for the first phase of the tournament and can go as high as $2,600 for the final.
Okay.
Prices varying by match and seat category.
Correct.
Here's a more detailed breakdown.
Yes, go for it.
Group public ticket sales start at $30, excluding tax and fees. Tickets for the lower level, category 1, can range from $100 to $200. Tickets in the upper category, category 2, can go roughly $60 to $140. Knockout stages. Tickets start at the round of 16 at $80.
Yes.
Semifinal tickets priced around $350. Final tickets are available for over $600.
So then what we're looking for is a venue that has a matchup that would not have a whole lot of interest per se. So if you were to say, go to the link on June 16th for the nightcap, Flamingo and Espérance Sportive de Tunisie, you could get in for $55, not including fees. So then if you were to buy, 20, that is $1,100 and then fees to get the opportunity to purchase one ticket to the FIFA Club, the FIFA final.
But here's where the fine print, John.
Yes.
Always read the fine print.
Always reading the fine print. Yes, sir.
Very rarely do people read the fine print. I would imagine, and this is just a guess.
Sure.
That FIFA gets to decide which World Cup final ticket you land.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, we're not talking about like Argentina versus England. We're not talking about Brazil versus Spain. I imagine we're talking like Tahiti versus like New Zealand or something like that.
I mean, if it's a World Cup final ticket, then I'm hoping it's the last match of the tournament.
No, it's not the last match of the tournament. It
says next year's World Cup finals is how it is phrased by Martin Ziegler.
Yeah. But the World Cup finals is the entire tournament, not the final.
Final.
Not the final. That's not like a ticket to Jerry World or a ticket to New York. Like for wherever the finals being played.
And this is the thing. It includes one ticket to attend 20 different Club World Cup matches.
Yes.
And so to have an option of buying a ticket, you got to have a super ticket pack, one ticket, 20 different matches. So you couldn't go to Orlando and go to the Purple Team Stadium and get 20 tickets for Ulsan and Mamelodi Sundowns at $33 a piece and have that count. That doesn't work.
Ooh. Noted.
So,
that's that fine print.
But, I'm sitting here reading the Ziegler piece. So it's like games on different days. Buyers can pass their tickets on. But so here's the word. Here's the key wording. To have an option of buying a ticket for the World Cup final, a super ticket pack must be purchased, including one ticket to attend 20 different matches. So sadly, you can't drop $33.45 times 20. So you can't drop $669 plus fees to go to the one match in Orlando and flip that. It's like, I want my World Cup final ticket. Apparently, it doesn't work that way. So, so
I have. Here's my 2 cents on this.
Sure.
I have 0 desire to go to the FIFA Club World Cup. 0.
Yeah.
I have no desire to go and pay money to watch some rando team play some other rando team.
Yeah.
No. I don't care if it's here in these United States of America. Don't care. I have 0 desire to see this. If somebody wants to see their club play a competitive match, great. Have fun. But I have better things to do with my money right now, like buy groceries.
Yes. I understand that.
Yeah. There are things that are mission critical to buy right now.
Yes.
FIFA Club World Cup tickets are not among them.
Yes. Let's see. So very, very busy day here. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And then we'll give you gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and we're out the door because at noon, Soccer's in Session is back. And we get to catch up with Aaron Paul, the boys head coach at Morgan County. Just cleared 100 wins in his career. Kai Uchimura, the girls coach at Druid Hills, is going to join us at 12:20. And we'll go through all the rankings and all the things and run it from there. So here's today. Copa Libertadores triple header on BN. Botafogo, Carabobo. Say that 10 times fast. Botafogo, Carabobo, Botafogo, 6 o'clock. River Plate in Barcelona at 8:30. Independiente del Valle Universitario at 10. We know that it's going to be a late night for our buddy Nino Torres. And you can get all the BNs, BN in Espanol, simulcasting those events, by the way. Nuestro Telecidio for the fans, our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV. Liga 1 Max Pro, Teise. You can get that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out, become a true degenerate if you weren't already. CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza doubleheader tonight. FS1, Tigres and LAG at 9, Cruz Azul Club America at 11:30. To the NA, Champions League this afternoon, Arsenal Real Madrid at 3. Unimas, simulcasting Cruz Azul and Club America at 11:30. Arsenal Real Madrid's at 3 o'clock on Univision. Paramount Plus, Arsenal Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Inter, not Messi and friends, but Inter at 3. English Championship, Derby County, Burnley, Sheffield United, Millwall, Middlesbrough, and Leeds, 2:45, and 3. Spain and Portugal, UEFA Nations League, and the women's side, CBS Sports Network at 1 o'clock. Canada, Argentina friendly, NFS2 at 10. USA, Brazil at 10:30. TBS, Universo Max. Super League, Jess Charman is on the call tonight. DC and Carolina on Peacock at 7:30. USA, Brazil simulcast by Peacock at 10:30. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and then we're out of here. So, and by the way, Nick, thank you for dropping by for as long as you have. It's fun to have you back.
No, thanks for having me. I
don't know why. It's like, you can crash anytime. And by the way, Nick has been nominated for an Atlanta Press Club Award for his work on features that he got to work on at Georgia Public Broadcasting during football season. So that award is going to be determined on the 27th. So congratulations to our Nick Alifi. Salute.
Well, we, Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
We are nominated. Not just me. We.
Yes. Well,
that's a W. You got to flip that M, sir.
Oh, I know, but this is the first time that you've been back on the show in a while, so I figured I would sit there and say you've been nominated.
Well, I appreciate it. We've been nominated.
Yes. Manchester United interested in signing Mateus Cunha, who has a £62.5 million release clause, and that'll be active in the summer. Spurs will not sign Timo Werner on a permanent once his loan deal expires this summer. I know you have thoughts.
Yeah. Who called this however many, like a couple of years ago?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, Timo Werner, he's amazing. Oh, my God. I'm like, he is a press merchant. He is not a striker who creates his own shots. He is a striker who has to be in a system that allows him to maximize his talent.
Yep.
And that system is a high press. You have to run high press nonstop. You have to run it in a particular way to maximize Timo Werner. He needs to go right back to one of these high pressing teams. Let him go. Let him stay there. That's where he needs to be. You can be a team that presses a lot. That doesn't mean you are a team that runs that Red Bull press. It's two very different animals.
And that's from Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea no longer interested in signing Victor Osimhen, leaving Manchester United as his main suitor. Jamie Gittins wants to leave Borussia Dortmund this summer. Several Premier League clubs are interested in the U21 English winger. Everton and Brighton join the race to sign Liam Delap from Ipswich. £40 million release clause will become active if they're relegated from the Premier League. Fiorentina will activate a one-year extension in the contract of David De Gea, keeping him until June of 26. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Leicester City set to sack Ruud van Nistelrooy after a run of 9 straight defeats. My guess is they'll probably wait till the end of the season. Bayer Leverkusen interested in Brentford keeper Mark Flecken, with the Bees wanting about €15 million or 12.8 million pounds. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Sports Germany. That is a show because, like I said, we're coming back at noon. No Gregerson, Williams, or Mosqueda training with Atlanta United today. Pedro Amador has, however, returned, according to Doug Robertson of the AJC. Aaron Paul at noon from Morgan County. Kai Uchimura from Druid Hills at 12:20. That's going to be till 12 to 1 here on the network. Soccer's in Session, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Nick, the last words are yours.
Look, just go ahead and enjoy yourself. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in the soccer world. Be open to new experiences. Be open to being a nice person when you're in these stands. Understand that we have no clue or concept of what's going on in some of these players' lives and some of these people's lives. It's very, very easy to sit there and bag and trash on personal things. Bag on their skills all you want. Have fun. They're in the arena. But just try to, put some speed bumps. All right? Speed bumps, baby. All right? Everything in moderation. You're not the main character. Neither am I.
No. So let me say hi to everybody before we get out. Morning, Abby. Morning, OG. Morning, David. Let's see. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Michael Head. Let's see. Trying to see who else I might have missed here. Morning, Kefsey. Morning, Rich. I know Rich is here. Morning, Jordan. Let's see. Morning, Rich Smith, who is in for the first time in a long time. And we got to get rid of Unequal Confidant 1BHXF because you're a bot. We don't like you. Once again, morning to the OG. And let's see, where's Rich? I saw Rich is in here. So hi, Rich. Hi to me. Morning, Ropes. Yes, Ropes was in to discuss the lawsuit involving Inter and Messi and friends. And I think that's everybody. I think it is. A morning 4 card. So, like I said, back at noon to talk high school. We got to dump off. I got to take a conference call to get ready for Atlanta United 2, Philadelphia Union 2. And then we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Jason is hosting tomorrow at 9:05 when Tyler and Dylan Butler come to visit, because I'm at a place where I can't have a digital device. I cannot have any kind of device whatsoever that gives out any kind of and emotes any kind of signal or retains any kind of information. So I am like off the grid tomorrow. So Jason's going to have SDHAM for you. Soccer's in Session is today because of that. Nick, get us out of here. Take us home.
Until next time, everybody, be nice to each other, be nice to yourselves, and mucha Euro.